My friends, the presidential election is over, but the danger, according to some, has never been greater. My name's Howard Riell, and this is Riell Truth. You're listening to the American Freedom Network, streaming live around the world at AmericanNewsNet.com, and on Facebook and YouTube and Tumblr, and in my book, Riell Truth, Stay Angry, as well as on Twitter, hashtag Howard Riell, RiellTruth.com, and of course, as always, right here, broadcasting out across the Colorado Front Range on KHNC, Johnstown, Colorado, 1360 AM The Lion. Our call-in number is 877-254-7524. Guys, welcome back. Let's start with an item from the Economic Collapse blog. Donald Trump is not the president yet, and Barack Obama could still do an extraordinary amount of damage during his last 2 months in the White House. Prior to the election, I described the period of time ending on January 20th as the danger zone, and my outlook has not changed just because Donald Trump was victorious on election night. As you'll see, the next 2 months are an absolutely critical time, and if we can get through January 20th without something major happening, perhaps we can breathe a little bit easier, at least for a while. On the other hand, the events of the next 2 months could easily plunge this country into a period of unprecedented chaos. A lot of people are feeling really good about things right now because of Trump's victory, but now is definitely not a time to relax and let down our guard. The truth is that Donald Trump has not even won the presidency yet. As I detailed shortly before election night, the next president will not be determined until December 19th, when the Electoral College meets. On Monday, December 19th, the members of the Electoral College will gather in all 50 state capitals to cast their vote for president. It is then, and only then, that the next president will be elected. Unquote. So, my friends, hold on to the champagne. Stop blowing up those balloons. It probably won't happen, but item from InfoWars, a member of the Electoral Commission in Texas, says his colleagues are getting death threats as angry Hillary supporters ramp up the pressure before electors cast their votes on December 19th. Unquote. It probably won't happen. It's a long shot, but it could happen. We know this has been an absolutely unprecedented presidential election cycle where things that we never thought would happen, never saw happen before, have happened. Is it out of the question that these electors could switch at the last minute and vote for Hillary? No, it is not. It's a possibility. My friends, wrap our brains around this. The presidency is the ultimate power on this planet. The president is the most powerful single individual, and since that power gets ramped up every year, I'll say the most powerful individual in the history of humankind. Do you think there's anything the scumbags out there would not do in order to capture that? Do you think there's anything that they would let go undone just because it's not nice or because it's not fair play or people might say bad things about them? We have to be watchful. We got to pressure our elected officials to see to it that the system runs the way it should. And if something snaky were to happen on December 19th, do you think that the news media would jump to our defense and defend the American way of life? Absolutely not. And so, yeah, this is a period of grave danger that we're in right now. Let's make use of the next 3 minutes and listen to, let's see, my good friend Lou Dobbs from Fox News. Here we go.
Good evening, everybody. What will be the Trump administration is now taking shape with a historic number of appointments. The president-elect announcing 3 more top-level positions, filling his administration today with primarily national security and law enforcement advisors. Trump tapping Senator Jeff Sessions to be the country's attorney general, one of the earliest and most enthusiastic of all elected officials to endorse Donald Trump. Congressman and House Intelligence Committee member Mike Pompeo, selected to lead the Central Intelligence Agency, and retired Lieutenant General Michael Flynn to serve as the National Security Advisor to the President. The left-wing national media, of course, that has been criticizing the Trump transition team for days now, silent as the team moves with great speed in these appointments. Donald Trump has now made 5 appointments in under 2 weeks. Vice President-elect Governor Mike Pence today touting Trump's decisive action.
Great working with President-elect. He is a man of action. We've got a great number of men and women, great qualifications, come forward to serve this new administration, and I'm just humbled to be a part of it.
And we'll be discussing the cabinet selection process and Trump's potential future choices. Among my guests tonight, former Trump campaign manager, now a senior advisor on the transition team, Kellyanne Conway. Also with us tonight, executive editor of the Weekly Standard, Fred Barnes, former Clinton advisor, Doug Schoen. And we're following Mr. Trump today as he moves the transition meetings from the Trump Tower in Manhattan to Trump National Golf Club in Bedminster.
All right, folks, you know that happened over the weekend. He's back in Trump Tower today. There is a whole stream of dignitaries, big shots, politicians, you name it, military folks, making their way to Trump. He will be able to select from the cream of the crop, the very best of the best. And I'm very hopeful, I have to tell you. I haven't been hopeful in... God. I've been doing this show for over 8 years. It was 8 years ago that Barack Obama became president. So that's about how long I have not been hopeful. But Donald Trump is a ray of hope. That maybe we really can drain the swamp. Maybe we really can put the government back to work for the American people. And when it does go back, because I'm hopeful it will, when it does go back to work for us, I'm confident we'll have the very best, sharpest-eyed, clearest-thinking people available working for us. That should fill you with optimism, too. Now, listen, you don't get very many... You don't get very much optimism on this show, but maybe that's changing. Maybe we're in a new era now when optimism will become the norm. Last time that happened, as far as I can recall, was the 1980s. It's a refreshing difference. And if you didn't vote for Trump, it's time for you to see why so many people did. And why maybe you should have. No maybe about it. And exactly why Trump actually will represent all of the people. And exactly why he may indeed make America great again. We'll take a break, and we'll be back with more Real Truth.
TLR Associates of Owner knows that our military men and women are appreciated and valuable. Coming home after a war and transitioning from a life in uniform to a life without one is difficult. The suicide rate per veteran the first 3 years of return is high. If you're struggling with suicidal thoughts, don't wait to call the VA Suicide Prevention Hotline at 1-800-273-8255. That's 1-800-273.
Alex Jones here with an incredibly important report. I am reaching out to the folks that call themselves liberals, who, for lack of a better word, are basically mind control victims.
From complete power independence to backup power for the short term, our expertise focuses on standalone power, but we have extensive experience with utility interactive systems as well. Custom tailored capabilities as modest as emergency lighting all the way to commercial scale power. Great Plains Power is a full service company. We service everything we sell. We provide and design turnkey packages, custom design system, and parts for do-it-yourself. With more than 20 years of specialized experience at your disposal, let us know what your power concerns or goals are. Reach us by phone or the internet. Call 303-239-9963. That's 303-239-9963. Or go to GreatPlainsSolar.com. Article 4. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall be issued but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the places to be searched and the persons or things to be seized.
Folks, welcome back to Riell Truth. I am Howard Riell here Monday through Thursday every week. Now keep in mind, this Thursday, all right, this Thursday is a little thing called Thanksgiving. We won't be on the air, but I'll be here today and tomorrow and Wednesday, and it's important that you lap up every word that passes my tonsils. Also, the words that pass the tonsils of Alex Jones, who's right here with what he calls an emergency message. Let's see what's so important. Go ahead, Alex.
Alex Jones here with an incredibly important report. I am reaching out to the folks that call themselves liberals, who, for lack of a better word, are basically mind control victims of the major corporations and the establishment media. I mean, that's a fact. Hillary Clinton was the biggest warmonger ever. The WikiLeaks have her and her cohorts talking about how dumb you are and how they want to keep you poor and hopeless and distracted. They are absolutely sinister. And the two-party duopoly that has been waging war against nation states and any form of independence has been trying to finish their project. And so that's why I want to reach out to you tonight with a message from Donald Trump, because this is what Donald Trump really stands for. It's what's really going on behind the scenes. And Steve Bannon, his chief strategist, has finally given an interview to Hollywood Reporter, basically telling the world what he stands for and what he's planning to do. And this is why the establishment is so incredibly upset and so incredibly angry right now, because they know full well that they mean business. This is an economy not based on conquest, but an economy based on renaissance. And it's a strategic plan to make the Republican Party the #1 party in this country for the next 100 years and break the back of globalism. Here's the article. Ringside with Steve Bannon at Trump Tower as the president-elect strategist plots an entirely new political movement. This is what the two political parties working together, bought and paid for by multinationals, are so afraid of. Now, when you read down in the article, Bannon arguably is one of the people most at battle line with the Great American Divide, and one of the people that have most clearly seen it. He absolutely mockingly rejects the idea that this is a racial line. I'm not a white nationalist. I'm a nationalist. I'm an economic nationalist, he tells me. The globalists gutted the American working class and created a middle class in Asia. The issue now is about Americans looking to not get effed over. If we deliver, he means the Trump White House, will get 60% of the white vote, 40% of the black vote, and Hispanic vote, and will govern for the next 50 years. That's what the Democrats missed. They were talking to these people with companies with $9 billion market cap, employing 9 people. It's not reality. They lost sight of what the world is about. The globalists admit under their whole Cloward and Piven program and false austerity program that they want you poor in their white papers. Now, liberals, you claim you're real intelligentsia. Don't go just read Mother Jones or the New Yorker magazine, okay? Go actually read Carol Quigley's Tragedy at Home. Go actually read Eco-Science. Go actually read what Council on Foreign Relations is saying. They want to make you poor to control you and then have stratas of basically corporate systems they control where you've got to play by their sheet of music. It's corporate imperialism, it's crony capitalism, picking winners. And they're against free market. They're against real choices. They're against renaissance. This is a fact. And that's what's so frustrating. Oh my God, Donald Trump wants to cut people making $40,000 a year to zero. Oh my God, he wants to incentivize in the black community and actually have jobs go there and cut taxes even more. That's what they're so scared of, because they've got the chains on people. They're taking the wealthiest nation in the world and turning it into a debtor nation. Trump wants to end that. This is the American system we're talking about. It was the apple of the world's eye. That's why they demonize it constantly in corporate media and universities. That's all paid for by the big banks, because they can't compete with it. If we just keep spending the same and cut taxes, more money will come in because it stimulates the economy. It happened with JFK. It happened with others. It happened with Reagan. The problem was the bipartisan groups increased the spending massively 3 times. Trump intends to cut taxes. It's going to make the economy roar. Already, the dollar's up. Already all these good things are happening. Globalism was designed to be a long, dark winter. A long, dark time of getting poorer and poorer, and countries go bankrupt, and the big banks come in and bail them out with their own taxpayer money. With rigged stock markets, and look at LIBOR, with rigged currency rates and rigged interest rates. Everything we told you's come out. And it's about beginning to try to roll that rigging out. The Democrats and Republican leadership are talking to billionaires that don't employ anybody. Trump is about hotels and golf courses and high-rises and is about prosperity. And he sees the country shutting down. He sees his wealth starting to shut down. He's like a resort town manager, on the city council that wants more jobs to come in. He sees the resort town dying. He doesn't like that type of economy. The globalists tell you you can't have a car or you can't have air conditioning or it'll kill the earth. They're teaching you to be poor. It has nothing to do with the earth. So they're selling this anti-human system, and behind the scenes and in the mainstream media and everywhere else, this is their plan. It's why the establishment that set up the system is so upset, because then it won't always pick the winners and losers. There'll be new wealth, new innovation, new ideas. Look at how he's not even president elect for 10 days, and already Ford's coming back. Already Apple says they're coming back. This is the initiative. People know what's happening. He tells China, you can't have a 10% lower corporate tax than us, so our corporations all move over there. We'll make it the same as you. That's not a trade war. The 20-something Apple factories, we're going to have at least one. Oh my gosh, how horrible. So they just go on panic mode. The collaborator media and all this, they don't hoax the majority of Americans. Record numbers of blacks, record numbers of Hispanics vote for Trump. The same whites that elected Obama elect Trump. And the media goes into this whole hysteria of putting fake swastika stories and all this crap to try to snow people back onto the plantation. The elites' panic over Trump is real. And I just want to tell leftists out there, I've never seen you so angry. You've gotten in my face in the street. Every time I go out in Austin now, you're all these poor, sad Californians that weren't even real Californians. I've talked to you. You went there 20 years ago. You failed. Now you've come here like locusts, and you just are always buying the new fad, always buying the lottery ticket, always buying into what mainstream media says. I mean, look, Hollywood's dying. Corporate media's dying. We left you a long time ago. Stop labeling us. Stop being so bigoted that I'm a white guy, that I must be a homophobe, all this other crap. You just say that to make yourself be on a high horse. You're like, I'm not bashing street preachers. Some of them are great. We all know the obnoxious ones that really get in your face and tell you you're a sinner and just seem all crazed, and it turns you off. It's like, God, if I was the devil, I'd pay those guys to go do that. It's the same way. You're like the new Victorians, but it's political correctness, not, sex is bad. You're just, in our face, use this word, do that. You got to conform the way we say run things. It's a bunch of damn slavery. And people are rejecting it. But you're in your own little weird urban bubbles all alone, going to your coffin apartment and watching your TV and feeling like it's the real world. And you're all alone. You don't have any real family or any real culture, but at least you've got liberalism. And, oh my God, it fell out. A guy with an orange haircut came in, It's crazy. So your answer is, call us fake news. Call for our censorship, because we're 160. Oh, we were 160 a month ago. 126 on the World Wide Web. There's a very telling video on Infowars.com in Cleveland where the communists come out and are threatening our camera lady, grown men threatening a small woman. And they keep yelling, Alex Jones is fake news, fake news, fake news. 2 days after they put out this whole fake news thing in the media that everybody's fake news, the communists are putting out what the corporate media is saying in 2 days. They're just the fake leftist cover. That's your chance at revolution? Failed communism with a bunch of spoiled, rotten, rich kids out there bitching and acting like mental patients? I mean, this is what's so crazy. The big corporations, the big universities, all of them want us shut down, want Trump shut down. They're telling you he's the establishment and doing all this just because he wants to try to turn the economy back on. This is amazing. And Bannon understands that if they can deliver, this country will turn on like flipping a light switch. And it's economic facts. So it's so important you understand why they're screaming, Stephen Bannon's a racist. Stephen Bannon's, oh God, he's the worst. And can't show any proof because it's all they've got. When we were against Obamacare, they would just scream, racist. You don't want a black man to be successful. We're like, it has death panels. It doubles prices the first few years. It's a big scam. Shut up, racist. Shut up, racist. Fake news, fake news. I mean, this is all they've got. And so all these people are invested in socialism. Crumbs from the capitalist, crony capitalist table. And you don't understand. We want to go back to a true free market system. Even just a small implementation of free market will end up taking over the entire economy in a decade. It's so competitive. It's so dynamic. The thirst for innovation, the thirst for better things is so innate in the human heart. So let me show you some more of this article. It's very important. Ringside with Steve Bannon and Trump Tower as the president-elect strategist plots an entirely new political movement. And he laughs, because this is, we all laugh. It's like, well, we're racist. We want to convert everybody, no matter what color their skin is, to true free market, so they have a new identity as a human, as an individual, as an innovator, like Martin Luther King talked about, for what they stand for and what they produce, not for what color they are. We're the ones fighting the racism. And that's what's so damn frustrating. Now, look, a lot of liberals woke up to the fact that the establishment was after Trump. Look at Julian Assange and others. They knew what a monster Hillary was. But those are real thinking intellectuals. The average trendy would have just been a KKK member 100 years ago when it was popular. I'm serious. That's why they're fighting the Renaissance and fighting the West that actually ended a lot of the classism, racism, and the rest of it. They're always trying to scapegoat the West because it's threatening their old authoritarian model. That's why they're teaching Hispanics and blacks and other classic race-based garbage, is so they can be controlled by their racial leaders and not go and produce their own lives, meet their own friends, have their own free association. But just to understand who the real fake news is, look at Bloomberg. The story's up on Infowars.com. Fake news alert. Bloomberg editor creates libelous Trump tweet out of thin air. And you read the article out of Bloomberg, and it says right here, and this is a supposed tweet from Trump. I settled the Trump University cheated more than 6,000 students with false promises of teaching them his real estate secrets, the president-elect said on Twitter. That sounds like an 8-year-old wrote it. It's not even a good made-up thing. These are the folks saying we're fake news. Meanwhile, it says, I settled the Trump University cheated more than 6,000 students with false promises of teaching them real estate secrets, the president-elect said on Twitter. I mean, that is crazy. And then, of course, you go to the Twitter, he never said that. This is the level. This is the level they're going to. What was really said is, I settled the Trump University lawsuit for a small fraction of the potential award because as president, I have to focus on our country. The only bad thing about winning the presidency is that I did not have the time to go through a long but winning trial on Trump University. Too bad. So that's what he really said. But now I'll hear for years on the streets by screaming crazies that are so indoctrinated they can't admit they've been conned that he admits he ripped people off.
All right, guys, let's talk about fake news. Here's an item from the Rutherford Institute. John Whitehead, former guest here on This Truth. He writes, let's talk about fake news stories, shall we? There's the garden variety fake news that's not really news so much as titillating tabloid-worthy material peddled by anyone with a Twitter account, a Facebook page, and an active imagination. These stories run the gamut from the ridiculous and the obviously clickbaity to the satirical and politically manipulative. Anyone with an ounce of sense and access to the internet should be able to ferret out the truth and lies in these stories with some basic research. That these stories flourish is largely owing to the general gullibility, laziness, and media illiteracy of the general public, which through its learned compliance rarely questions, challenges, or confronts. Then there's the more devious kind of news story circulated by one of the biggest propagators of fake news, the U.S. government. In the midst of the media's sudden headline-blaring apoplexy over fake news, you won't hear much about the government's role in producing, planting, and peddling propaganda-driven fake news, often with the help of the corporate news media, because that's not how the game works. Unquote. My friends, I told you last week, henceforth, for the next 4 years, hopefully 8 years, disbelieve what you see in the media on first contact. Assume that it's crap, and then see if you can verify it. Because we're going to be lied to more than ever before in our lives by the major media, because they've been poked in the eye by Donald Trump and tens of millions of Americans, and they're going to fight back. Just like in the movies, the empire fights back, strikes back. The media is going to fight back. They've got nothing real or substantive to fight with, and so they're going to manufacture lies. Keep your eyes and ears open for them. They're before our eyes right now. Like that Bloomberg tweet that they said came from Donald Trump and didn't really. Caveat emptor, my friends. Buyer beware. Whenever you hear anything from the media, question whether or not it's true. Ask yourself, does it make sense? Is it coming from a reputable source? That's why you're so lucky that you've got, okay, I'll say it, Howard Riell and Riell Truth on the line here, because you know we only present the truth. You can believe what you hear on this show. But for the big guys, the millionaires peddling major media stuff, they've got reason to lie. They got a lot to protect. They got a lot of greed, a lot of ambition, and they don't mind lying in order to further it. So those are the people you have to disbelieve on contact. Now, somewhere along the line, we're going to have a commercial coming up. I have faith in that. And when we do, we're going to come back and I'm going to play another video for you, give you some more news. I think we have a commercial coming up any second. And then we'll have more Real Truth. For example, I've got a video queued up of, let's see. The reason why Democrats are the party of slavery. This comes from the website Zonation. It comes from some guy named Alonzo, who's talking to his fellow African Americans about the fact that they've been living on the Democrats' plantation whether they know it or not. You'll hear him say it. You don't need me to say it. But I know that commercial's coming up any second. And once it's done, I'm going to put on this video, and then we're going to have some more news as soon as this upcoming commercial comes on. You see, I don't want to start anything now because there's a commercial about to start. Did I already mention the commercial that's going to be happening any second? I know how to make the commercial go on.
Hello, Mr. Howard.
Yes.
We've had a malfunction of the computer. My apologies, sir.
Uh-oh, am I on the air?
You're on the air, but we're working on getting the brakes out.
All right, so should I just keep going into the next segment?
Yes, go for it.
Okay. All right, guys, we are back on the air. Let's listen to this item, why Democrats are the party of slavery and victimization, from Zonation. Here we go.
Every person should vote Republican at least once in this election cycle. I can dig it. Rock on, Stephen. But getting them to do that only once is like getting an obese person to try salad. Just once. Sure, it'd be really good for them, but when they don't see the immediate effects of eating that salad, they'll go back to their earlier eating habits and look for any excuse to reject proper diet and exercise and try to convince themselves that they're happy with being who they are while being miserable about it. I think what's happening. Following through with that analogy would be, here's the Democrats with their restaurant. They got pizza, pie, ice cream. You can eat all you want because they make rich white people pay for it. Next door, you have the Republicans with their restaurant of steamed poultry and veggies. Sure, it's a much healthier diet, but definitely not as much fun to eat. Oh, and you have to pay for the food with the money you earned. Which restaurant do you think is going to have more people eating there? The irony is that the Democrats are the ones who are trying to control how people eat. Republicans are the ones who say, eat what you want. But it wouldn't be a bad idea to be conservative about what and how you eat, so as to prolong enjoyment of good health. That's what it is to conserve and be a conservative, so as to prolong enjoyment instead of being liberal with things that ultimately squander. Getting all American blacks to vote Republican doesn't suit their palate. Republicans are too bland for them. They need their food flavored with the MSG of race baiting and class baiting. Democrats pump that flavor in their food, which is really, really bad for them. But so what? It's delicious. Being made to feel like a victim for many blacks and being made to feel like you're a member of the 99% is comfort food for them. They've been conditioned to feel like it's important for them to identify themselves as the field Negroes and to hate the so-called house Negro. Meanwhile, the so-called house Negro that the race-baiting blacks call us is like, you do realize that slavery was abolished like 150 years ago, yet your mind is still in the fields, a place you've never been. Yet you want to stay brain chained to a place where Democrats wanted to keep you and still want to keep you. You think the Democrats have changed and that the Republicans aren't the party of Lincoln anymore. Democrats haven't changed. They still want you to be dependent on the master, and they're still dependent on you. It's just that now, instead of using blacks to farm cotton, they now use you to farm votes. And you've been suckered into believing that this off-balance circle of dependency is Democrats doing something for black folks. If Democrats do so much for you, why are you still so angry? Why are you still saying we shall overcome as if it hasn't already happened? I'll tell you why overcoming hasn't happened for you. Because you've been suckered into voting for the party that you were supposed to overcome. I'm still not understanding this butthurt logic of hating Republicans because they don't do nothing for black folks. If the Democrats are making life so wonderful for you, why do you need Republicans to do anything for you? The government isn't supposed to do things for you. You're so busy with this entitlement mindset of people doing something for you that you fail to see that the way out of poverty is by doing for others. It's called service. And the better you are at a service, the better you get paid. But you've been conditioned to see service as slavery, just the way the Democrats want it. The Democrats want you to believe that you're entitled to other people being deprived of their rights for your comfort. Democrats haven't changed because that's what slavery is all about, depriving someone else of their rights for the comfort of someone else. And Democrats have suckered you into thinking this is doing something for black folks, which in truth only makes life harder for everybody. Whereas the conservative Republican interpretation of the Constitution is that it's not the government's job to do for you. The government's job is to protect you. So if you want to start a business, the conservative official is the one who guards your business from the liberal official with how much they want to liberally tax and liberally regulate that business, which weakens the hiring power of that business, which makes it harder for you to find a job. But the Democrats will make you think they're doing something good for you because taxing them rich white folks, which is making them pay their fair share. And jobs, whatever. We Democrats are the ones who are really for the black man because we're going to make those rich white business owners pay more in unemployment benefits. Black people, you are voting for the party that fought to keep the slave market legal. You're voting for the party that authored Jim Crow. You're voting for the party that created the KKK. All the bigotry that has so deeply scarred America was the Democrats, and you vote for them. And then you try to justify it by cherry-picking penny-ante BS about a few Republicans who did something that you have to reach way up into your behind to pull out as racism, despite all the institutionalized bigotry of the Democrats. Y'all have been suckered into believing that there was a big party switch because of Barry Goldwater and Lee Atwater. Goldwater got all the votes of legions of Southern white conservatives. Really? You know Goldwater lost, right? If Republicans are all about this bigotry you're talking about that Barry Goldwater was supposedly promoting, then I guess we should have had a President Goldwater. And according to this big switch story, did a bunch of Republicans go and become Democrats? No. All you got is some confused Democrats who voted Republican. Yet despite all the bigotry of the Democrat Party, Barry Goldwater is enough for y'all to get hung up on. A lot of blacks insist on holding to the idea that Republicans are the party of rich white people, and white people benefit from the legacy of slavery. If people really benefited off of the legacy of slavery, then the African continent would be the richest population of citizens in the world. People would ask, wow, how are all y'all so rich? Well, we're benefiting off the legacy of slavery. There's slave markets in Africa now. Africans have been slave trading since thousands of years, before America was even thought about. Democrats have effectively conditioned many blacks to willingly participate in the Democrats' genocidal campaign against them via Planned Parenthood. But many blacks want to believe it's Republicans that are doing something to them. and not doing anything for them. Democrats be like, hey there, my black sister, are you pregnant? We can abort that thing and make someone else pay for it. But if you decide to keep that thing, here's a block of cheese and a check, and that's more where that came from. If you keep those votes coming for us, and make sure you don't have a contributing husband, or else no social assistance for you. And then there's this crap by Snoop Dogg, trying to blame gang violence on Reagan, which was already happening before Reagan was elected. Tookie Williams and Ray Washington set off the Crips in 1969. Sets were forming throughout the 70s. They were already involved with drug trafficking, robbery, extortion, murder, burglary, prostitution, and theft. Due to other rivalries, the Bloods came about as early as 1972. So take that formula of rival gang members trying to be the hardest, add drugs, and time to grow, and I say to you assuredly, that powder keg was going to blow regardless of Reagan.
Yeah, regardless of politics, actually. The important takeaway here, not just for African-American listeners, but for everybody, is that the Democrats are the party of slavery. Not just the party of slavery for blacks. The party of slavery for everybody. How does a drug dealer enslave an addict? Well, he gives him free drugs to begin with. And then when the addict becomes an addict and has to have the drugs, well, then they're controlled. Then the pusher owns them. And that's the way the Democrats own people. We'll take a break. We'll be back. More Real Truth ahead.
We know our government is out of control. It's no longer.
I want to talk about something else. I closed my show yesterday with an impassioned plea to the mentally abused. I want to talk about something else. I closed my show yesterday with an impassioned plea to the mentally abused liberals who are mentally abusing the rest of the country. You see, the problem with people who have been mentally abused as children, or liberals can have such hatred in their hearts for people like myself, biggest enemy, that you're proving to me that liberalism is a mental disorder. Why do I say that? How sick you are. What it's going to take to wake you up is anyone's guess. I have a pretty good idea.
Thousands of dollars for supplements that may or may not work. If you're a professional athlete or just looking for nutritional peace of mind, look no more because you've found Bio Superfood, the next generation in supplementation. 100% natural Bio Superfood packs all your essential proteins, vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, enzymes, and many of nature's special forces you need for optimum health. Call BioAge at 877-288-9116, 877-288-9116.
And the Word became flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld his glory, the glory as of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. John bore witness of him and cried out, saying, This was he of whom I said, He who comes after me is preferred before me, for he was before me. The Gospel of John, chapter 1, verse 14 and 15.
Welcome back, Howard Riell. The show is called Riell Truth. My friends, I'm going to switch one up on you here. A few years ago, Michael Savage is another conservative talk radio guy. Wrote a book called Liberalism is a Mental Disorder. And when you say that, people laugh and they chuckle. But what they don't understand is that it really is. Liberalism is a form of mental disorder. I've said that before in the show. It's not news. I'm going to let the author himself, Michael Savage, explain it to you. Listen up.
I want to talk about something else. I closed my show yesterday with an impassioned plea to the mentally abused liberals and who are mentally abusing the rest of the country. You see, the problem with people who have been mentally abused as children or physically abused is they tend to abuse everyone around them as adults. liberals are like abused children. They may not have been physically abused, but they've been mentally abused. And now that many of them have power, they're abusing the rest of us to get even though we're not their enemy. So I closed my show with the following epilogue. And here's what I said. I said how liberals can have such hatred in their hearts for people like myself, how they will take the side of the Islamic extremists over the president and over the troops, how they will take the side of the enemy in virtually every interchange. It can only be answered with one statement. Liberalism is a mental disorder, and I don't have the cure for it. And I then said, those of you who think I'm your enemy, if you think I'm a bigger enemy to you, for example, let's start with this. For those of you who are obsessed with certain topics, and you think that I, a frank-speaking man, I, Michael Savage, am your biggest enemy, then you're proving to me that liberalism is a mental disorder. Why do I say that? Because I do not pose any direct threat to any of you. Who does pose a direct threat to you? Our common enemy. A common enemy who would hang you, cut your throat, throw you down a well, or collapse a wall of bricks on you. So a man who speaks out trying to defend all of us becomes your enemy. Why? Because you're sick. Because you're mentally ill and you need help. You need more help than you can imagine, but you'll be the last person to understand how sick you are. What it's going to take to wake you up is anyone's guess. I have a pretty good idea what it's going to take. It'll be like 55,000 degrees over your city, and they'll be cheering throughout the Middle East. And then one of you or two of you who are spending all your days and nights now attacking Michael Savage will then come to understand that you have had bigger problems and bigger enemies than I. I don't expect you to change. I know you're mentally ill. I know that, and you can't help yourself. The mentally ill cannot heal themselves. I then go on to say, all you snotty liberals who look over all of these things like it means nothing. What's wrong with you? When did you lose your soul? When did it exactly happen? Was it the pot in high school? What exactly was it? Coke in the 80s? When do you think as a liberal you lost your soul? What did it to you? What was the turning point? What was that tipping point in your life as a liberal looking back when you lost your soul and started to hate America and you started to hate everything that was normal and sane about this country? When did you lose your perspective on reality is what I'd like to ask you. See, I don't hate liberals. I've got to make that very clear. Basically, they're not bad people by and large. They leave you alone. I don't like their politics. They don't like mine. But they're not harmful. Most of them are nice people. They're just pleasure-oriented. They like nice things and they want to be left alone. I understand that. But how they could have such hatred in their hearts for people like myself, who spend their every waking minute with every fiber in their being, trying to wake America up to the danger it is in, how they will take the side of the Islamic extremists over the president and over the troops, how they will take the side of the enemy in virtually every interchange, can only be answered with one statement. Liberalism is a mental disorder and I don't have the cure for it. But I will never relent in my desire to awaken all of America with God's will, and that's how I closed the show yesterday.
My friends, is it possible that liberalism really is an actual mental disorder? It's not just possible, it's the fact. Item from the Blaze. Supreme Court Justice Sonia Sotomayor had a very interesting response to the events that occurred as a result of the election. On Tuesday, leftist host and pundit Bill Press of The Bill Press Show interviewed Sotomayor at the Hill Center on Capitol Hill and asked, "Are you in any way apprehensive about what happened in this nation last Tuesday?" According to the Washington Post, instead of answering the question directly, Sotomayor took the scenic route and encouraged Americans to, quote, continue being heard, unquote, which means continue rioting, continue setting trees on fire, smashing car windows, throwing rocks at horses, beating people up. Mind you, this is a Supreme Court justice, a wise Latina woman, saying these things. Well, maybe this particular Latina woman is not that wise, but has her head up her black robe. Item from InfoWars. Stevie Van Zandt, longtime member of Bruce Springsteen's E Street Band, actor and activist, doesn't have much in common politically with Vice President-elect Mike Pence, but apparently Mr. Van Zandt has even less in common with what he's described as bullying tactics by the cast of the Broadway play Hamilton. The iconic rock guitarist blasted the Broadway ensemble for its lack of respect and then pushed back against anyone who thought the behavior was acceptable. Unquote. My friends, it was way back in the 60s that Truman Capote, the late author, said that based on his experience, he's come to the conclusion that actors are stupid people. Well, I have to believe that most actors are. Not all, but most. These actors who are on stage in the play Hamilton on Broadway, by the way, when they were casting this play, the casting call went out for non-white actors. In other words, if you're white, do not enter. If you're white, you're out of contention. If you're white, you don't get the job. Sound a little bit like racism to you? Substitute the word black for white, and you see how hateful and repugnant it was. But these simpletons stood on stage and lectured a guy like Mike Pence, who's got more IQs than the entire cast combined. Lectured him. And in so doing brought disgrace upon themselves and upon Broadway, and showed you that yes, indeed, liberalism is a mental disorder. And it's on display as never before all across the United States. Like turning on the lights and all the cockroaches start running, Donald Trump turned on the lights. And all the cockroaches are right there in the sun for us to see. And now they're scattering. We'll take a break, my friends. We'll come back. And we'll finish up with some news. More Real Truth ahead. You have no permission to go anywhere. Was that sufficiently authoritarian? I'm allowed to have fun doing this show, aren't I? Aren't I? All right, we're going to come back. We're going to finish up. I'll go back on the radio. We'll finish up, then I'm going to scram out of here. I'll be back tomorrow. Remember, I'm on tomorrow, Wednesday, off on Thursday for Turkey Day. That won't be a problem for you if you've bought my book, Riell Truth, Stay Angry. I think I have a copy of it here somewhere. Anyway, whether I do or don't, you'll find it on Amazon.com. You'll find it at BarnesandNoble.com. You'll find it on VirtualBookworm.com. You can't spit without hitting that book. But I'm here to tell you, it will give you the what, where, for, who, what, when, where, why, and how of how power works in this country and around the world. And if you think you don't have time for stuff like that, you better make time, because it affects you and your children and always will. It affects every aspect of our lives. And you need to know who's behind the curtain, so to speak, who's pulling the strings, and whose ends we are accomplishing. All right, that's the end of the commercial. It's called Riell Truth, Stay Angry, R-I-E-L-L. Find it just about anywhere online. Read it, share it, talk about it. You can't go wrong. All right, the commercial's about over. We'll come back, we'll finish up, and then I am out of here.
The Council of the Nations to nothing. He makes the plans to people of no effect. The counsel of the Lord stands forever, the plans of his heart to all generations. Blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord, the people he has chosen as his own inheritance. Psalm 33, verses 10 through 12.
Welcome back to Riell Truth. Item from the Daily Caller. Clinton Foundation officials were able to attract only 5 new donors between July 1 and September 30, the controversial charity's third quarter. The Daily Caller News Foundation's investigative group has learned, unquote. So the Clinton Foundation is now losing money, or at least not gaining it anywhere near as quickly as they used to. Good. There is such a thing as justice. The place is sleazy, slimy, and stinks, as do the Clintons. By the way, just because we're not seeing Hillary Clinton every day doesn't mean we still can't throw her ass in a jail cell, which we should do, and in fact, which we must do. And I'm hoping Jeff Sessions when he becomes confirmed as Attorney General. I hope he'll make that order of business number one. Item from InfoWars. A woman who claimed in a Facebook post that she was the victim of a sexual assault and that Kirkland, Washington police responded but did not investigate made it all up. Police say the woman, whom they did not identify, admitted she fabricated the entire event. She told the police she posted the false claim because she was, quote, distraught over the recent election, unquote. My friends, are you really going to try and make the case that liberalism is not a mental disorder? Look at what liberals are doing out in the streets every day. Look at this tragedy. Made up a sexual assault charge because she was distraught over the recent election. Now, I don't know if this woman's planning on committing suicide, but come on. Item from YellowHammerNews.com. President-elect Donald Trump over the weekend nominated Senator Jeff Sessions, Republican Alabama, to serve as U.S. Attorney General, signaling that he's serious about returning the Justice Department to its core mission of ensuring fair and impartial administration of justice for all Americans. Senator Sessions' credentials are impeccable. Assistant United States Attorney, Alabama Attorney General, U.S. Senator, a combined 35 years of public service and a lifelong commitment to the rule of law. And yet, if you read the New York Times and Washington Post or watch MSNBC or CNN, you'd think President-elect Trump brought segregation-era George Wallace back from the dead and appointed him to be the nation's chief law enforcement officer. In reality, Sessions campaigned against Wallace as a college Republican, but that's another story. The media constantly point out that Senator Sessions failed confirmation after then-President Ronald Reagan nominated him to a federal judgeship as evidence that he is, as CNN puts it, quote, dogged by allegations of racism, unquote. My friends, CNN is dogged by allegations of crappy journalism. And you know what? Those allegations are true. The Clinton News Network sucks. The value of its news sucks. Its reliability index, its believability suck. They do a lousy job. Wait. Watch. Their ratings have been trending down. They're going to begin to plummet. Just like the New York Times. Just like the Clinton Foundation. Because it all comes out in the wash. And thanks to Donald Trump, Americans have seen with crystal clarity, like never before, exactly who the bad guys are. We don't like bad guys. We don't like people, institutions, networks, political parties lying to us. And basically, more or less, stealing from us and conning us. Those days are done. And so expect CNN and MSNBC and CBS, ABC, NBC. Expect them all to begin to go bye-bye as America grows up and demands more of its media. More? I mean, honesty. I'll be back tomorrow with more Real Truth, my friends. Stay safe. Stay healthy. Stay angry. Obviously, some of us find it easier than others to stay angry. And believe me, if you were reading this news every day, you wouldn't find it difficult either. I'll see you tomorrow.